Hey, welcome back to the JK Moto Entertainment channel. Welcome back once again to Stable B, our favorite place. Today, we're going to talk about another discussion topic for track days, and that is going to be specifically centered around your first track day, or maybe this is something that you messed up on your first track day, and you're going to use this going to your second. But we're going to talk about 5 things that I think that you should bring to your first track day. Now, this is going to sound very familiar to a recent video that I did, which was 5 essentials for your first track day. That was talking about the things that you actually have to do the track day at all. These 5 things are just going to be 5 kind of helpful things and things that could maybe come in handy. Maybe you won't use them. Some of them you'll definitely use, and I think you should absolutely have them, but some of them are just kind of handy to have on hand. So 5 things that'll help you on your first track day that are not necessary to do that track day. Let's get into it. Before we get into it, real quick, right beforehand, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below for me, throw a like on the video. If you have any other ideas of things that could be useful for your first track day or your second track day, if you already did the first and it didn't go so well, please throw those down in the comments so that everyone can have a nice big list, maybe a little bit more than just 5. Let's get into the video. All right, item number 1, our first track day hack. Our first hack for our first track day. Our number 1 hack for our first track day. It's not really a hack. I have another video called Track Day Hacks. You should absolutely go check that out also. That's got a lot of good stuff in it. We're gonna kind of overlap that a little bit later on, so just be aware of that. We'll have the link for that up there, Track Day Hacks. But the first thing that I would say you should bring with you after you have all your gear, you have all that stuff from the Track Day Essentials list, you have your gear, your bike, key, don't forget your key, very important, bring your key, is a roll of duct tape. And I say this because I kind of always brought one because I was taping my lights for a long time. And before I stopped taping my lights, I built up a toolbox, and I had a toolbox, and now I have an extra parts box and a toolbox and another extra bigger parts box, and I bring so much stuff, it's kind of stupid. Not quite enough to rebuild a whole bike, and not as much as I've seen some people. I see some people out there, they've got like 10 totes. And they're like, yeah, I've got 6 windshields. You never know, you could go down every session, so you need 6 windshields. You don't need 6 windshields. I'm not gonna tell you to bring that today, and this is not like something that I'm gonna tell you to pack a full 20-foot trailer with. I'm just saying this is something you could fit in the back of your pickup or in the back of your car. Some of these things you could fit in a backpack if you're riding to the track. I don't personally recommend riding to the track, but I know people do that out there, and that's kind of your only option. So for those of you doing that, keep going, I guess, keep doing it, and hopefully you can bring in a few of these things, and maybe I'll give you a couple tips and tricks for if you're doing that. So anyway, first thing, duct tape. I bring this up because like I said, I always brought it with me because I was taping headlights. I would always have my headlights taped before I got there though, so what was the point of bringing the duct tape? I don't know. I always just kind of figured, well, maybe they're gonna tell me I need more tape at tech. I was always just kind of worried, and this is how I've accumulated my giant list of stuff that I bring, is I'm just worried about something happening. But I always had my duct tape. And there was a track day, I was still riding my Gixxer. It was still outfitted in blue and green. Still had the street fairings on there, and I got pulled over by a coach, or he came back to the pits afterward. He's like, hey man, your fairing's falling off. And I was like, holy cow, my track day's over. And I think we were the 4th session of the day, maybe even only the 3rd. It was pretty early in the day. I was like, my track day's over. I can't do anything. It's done, my fairing's falling off. I gotta buy new fairings. This is just not gonna work out. And so I was like, oh man, I looked down, sure enough, it's like a little flappy guy on the side. You get to the side of your bike and it's sitting there flapping. And I was like, oh, what do I do? Am I done for the day? And the dude looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, no, just duct tape it. And in my head, I was like, dude, I'm not gonna duct tape my nice street fairings. Then I looked down at them, realized they were falling apart and actively falling off the bike. And I was like, yeah, okay, I guess I don't really care if I'm putting duct tape on these things. I don't care about the paint or anything else anymore. But anyway, duct tape came in super handy at that point. Also, I'll put it on the screen, but if you go down and you're running race fairings, having duct tape can really help out because your race fairings could be made of 80% duct tape by the time you're done with them and buy a new set. So anyway, duct tape, that is tip number 1. All right, item number 2 for our, I don't really know what we're calling these things. Items to bring to your first track day beyond the essentials. Items beyond the essentials. Item number 2 is gonna be zip ties. More than, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. More than 10 zip ties. Actually, 10 is not bad. It's a decent amount of zip ties. Let me throw those back under there. Zip ties, duct tape, they kind of go together. It just makes sense. Do I recommend keeping your entire bike together with zip ties? Absolutely not. But can you make some quick fixes on the go if you go down and break something small or whatever else? Yes, absolutely. Can you hang random things up in your camp that you're camping at if you need to? I guess I wouldn't use zip ties for that personally, but maybe you can. Zip ties are just super useful. They always come in handy. I've seen people keep their grips on with them. When you put new grips on Saturday and you didn't end up putting any glue, or you put way too much glue, or you use dish soap like myself and you used way too much of it and the grips are just sitting there sliding around, zip ties can help keep those things from moving. I've seen fairings that have been, instead of putting a clip in there, you just put a zip tie through the 2 holes. That keeps them together. I've seen windshields that have been drilled and stitched with zip ties. Zip ties, they're super cheap, super easy to put. And also, like, for those of you riding to the track, your backpack can 100% fit duct tape and zip ties. That's why I'm saying these 2 things is like, this is easy for literally anyone. 1, you should already probably have in your garage, and 2, if not, it's a trip to Walmart on your way out there. You grab a roll of duct tape, grab a package of zip ties. So everything I'm gonna mention tonight, by the way, is something you can literally pick up at Walmart on your way to the racetrack for really not that much money. So zip ties, that's really the short and sweet of it. I've never personally, that's not true. I've used a couple, like, I've made a couple things, a couple fixes with zip ties before. I've had to, there was a wire that was like either lost its, not loom, but man, I don't even know what to call it. But anyway, the little clip thing that holds the wire in place, I've had to put that on there. I was at Tech one time and I just put a quick shifter on my bike and I didn't have the wire zip tied to the quick shift rod. And the guy was like, hey, I would zip tie that on there. I was like, why? He's like, well, it might pull off. I was like, oh, okay, so zip tie some slack into it. He's like, yep, absolutely. Put a zip tie on that. I've definitely used zip ties. They're one thing that are always in my toolbox, so I definitely recommend bringing zip ties to the track with you, especially if it's your first track day. Never know when you might need them. Maybe you won't, but maybe you will. All right, item number 3 for your things that you should bring to your first track day is gonna be a chair, something to sit on. Doesn't have to be one of these folding camping chairs, but something to sit on, 100%. I'm gonna relate this to those of you that ride your bike to the track real quick. You can definitely buy one of those like little backpacking type chairs. Even like literally even one of those little tiny ones that's just barely big enough for like you, and that's it. It'll fold up, it'll either go on the side in the cup holder, whatever. They're literally built for backpacking, they're super sweet. But for the rest of us that are taking a truck or a car or something like that, 100% bring a camping chair. You're gonna want something to sit on throughout the day, and you're not gonna wanna sit in the grass or sit on your motorcycle all day. Trust me, you'll be spending plenty of time in the saddle here. You don't wanna be doing that in between sessions. So bring something to sit on. It is amazing how much 20 minutes of riding can really wear you out. When you're out there on the track, you do one session at 20 minutes or even 15 minutes and you get back and you are worn out because you're out there working the entire time. Or maybe not, maybe you're just having fun and you're like, no, I don't need a place to sit. But I would 100% recommend bringing a chair, bringing something to sit on. Like I said, if you're one that rides the track, you can get one of those nice cheap ones. For the rest of you, go pick up a $5, $10 camping chair at Walmart. That'll last you maybe half a session, half a season of track day riding, but need something to sit on. All right, item number 4 is gonna be some shade. And for those of you that are thinking, okay, how do I bring shade that's usually provided by other things? That's right, you need to go buy yourself a canopy, or at least something similar, if nothing else, at least like a big old hat. But even a hat's not gonna cut it. When you're out there in your big old leather suit that you're not gonna wanna take off in between every session, maybe not, but then you're just gonna be laying it on the ground in the sun. You're gonna want some shade. So I definitely recommend a canopy. You can get those things at Walmart for like $100 or less. They're also useful for other things besides just track days. You can set them up in your backyard for backyard barbecue. You can put them up in your living room for, I don't know, if you want like some midterm light in your living room, like you don't want the lights on, but you don't want it super dark either. So you want some kind of in between. I don't know where I was going with that, but you can also absolutely use them for track days, watching fireworks, parades, whatever else. They're worth having. They're also really not that expensive when you get the cheap ones. I understand the cheap ones might not last as long, especially some of these track days get real windy, but bring shade. Now, if you're one of the dudes that's riding to the track and you're wondering how the heck do you expect me to bring a whole canopy with me to the track? I don't. I really don't. I don't expect you to grab a backpacking tent either, and I don't think they make backpacking canopies. At least I haven't seen them. Your best option there is to find a tree. Now, for those of you out in the like southwestern part of the southwestern part of the United States, I've ridden out there. There are not many trees out there. And even when I was riding out in the P&W, usually if we have a big old paved paddock, the tree scenario is like pretty low. Out here in the East, they seem to like not pave their entire paddock half the time. I guess NC Bike had a paved paddock. It was just a gravel paddock. But anyway, you got to bring a canopy. And so if you're riding to the track, this is where you're going to have to find a buddy that has a canopy, or you're going to need a really, really wide brim hat. And you're going to have to find some like building or something to kind of park next to try and use the shade around the building throughout the day. But you're going to want some shade right next to that seat so that you can chill out in between sessions. You don't have the sun beating down on you all day long. It will heat you up and you will get overheated, and it's not going to be any fun. So you're definitely going to want to bring some shade with you. Easiest way to do that, grab a quick $100 canopy from Walmart on your way, take it up there, set it up, nice pop-up tent. They're easy to go. Another option, if you're like, okay, I can't do that because I'm riding and I am in the Southwest and I know there's no shade at any of these tracks. If the tracks have a garage available, you can absolutely rent a garage spot. That doesn't just go for those of you in California and Arizona. There's some other spots that also have garages available. And even if you're driving to the track, the garage can be an option too. So renting a garage is sometimes available depending on the track if they have that, and depending on your budget. If you have it in the budget, it can absolutely be useful. Either garage or like, sometimes they'll call it a garage. I know I've been going to CMP here a lot. That's Carolina Motorsports Park. If you haven't been there, check out our track review on it. It's a pretty sweet spot. But they have like this garage, which is really just a big old huge metal canopy thing. So that's gonna close out tip number 4. Get some shade of some sort, whether you have to rent the shade, buy the shade, borrow someone else's shade, you're gonna want shade at the track. All right, time for tip number 5. This is gonna be our final tip for the day of things that you should bring to your first track day that are not your bike, your gear, your key, or like literally everything in the world that you could ever think of. I couldn't possibly cover everything. I did want to mention that like there are other great things to bring. I have another video that was like other things you should bring to a track day. You can check that out up there. It's got a bunch of crazy stuff in it. I usually bring stuff so I can change wheels, tires, enough tools to cover just about any breakable part of my bike, like all that stuff. So if you want to look into all that because you're like, dude, I've already done this, I've got all this stuff down, go ahead and check that video out. But for the rest of us, your first track day, you're trying to get ready for it, here's the last and final thing, and that is going to be water. And I've mentioned this in many videos before, and everyone will tell you while you're there, you're gonna get it yelled at you, you're gonna get it beat into you, but you gotta bring water, and very specifically cold water. And I mentioned earlier, you should bring a seat. What better way to bring a seat than to bring 2 things in one, which is a cooler with some ice and some water. Go ahead and grab yourself a pack of water, grab some ice, grab a cooler, all at Walmart. Like I said, you can literally head to Walmart on your way to the track and get all this stuff. But having cold water available to you all day is going to go super far. If you can't do the cold thing, if you're riding to the track, this is where this gets real difficult because you're like, well, if I put more than 10 waters, it's going to be like, anyway, I'm not going to do the math on how many pounds that would be, but it would be a lot of pounds. So maybe you don't want to carry that all on your back. Hopefully you can buy waters there, or you can text someone that's going beforehand, or someone else that, the track day org, say, hey, can you guys bring me a thing of water? I'll bring you 20 bucks for it, or 5 bucks for it, whatever it might cost you. But you need to have some water, and you need to have like basically unlimited supply. The last thing you want to do is get to like the 4th out of 7 sessions or the 5th out of 7 sessions and be out of water, because that's also when it's going to get the hottest. It's when you're going to get the most tired. It's when you're going to start sweating the most and everything else. So sometimes track days are in cooler weather. Sometimes it's raining. That was also another reason you should bring a canopy for reason number 4, not just shade, but rain coverage. The last thing you want to do is show up to a track day where it's raining, still ride, and then sit in the rain all day long. The canopies are like, I think a pop-up canopy is almost 100% necessary, right up there next to like having a bike and having water, which is why I mentioned it. But I would say the most important thing on this list is absolutely water. You got to bring some water. It helps if it's cold, helps if you got some electrolyte stuff. I mentioned kind of all of that in one of my track day essentials video. So I'm not gonna like dig into it too much because I don't want to repeat myself, but having a pack of waters with a cooler and some ice and some sort of electrolytes, so whether that's a few Gatorades or some drink packets or, I don't know, liquid IV, whatever it might be, you're gonna want electrolytes. So go ahead and throw those in there with it, but you gotta bring water. So anyway, that's gonna kind of cover us up for tonight. Just to recap, we had duct tape, we had zip ties, we had something to sit on, a seat, a chair, a stool, one of them little tiny folding backpacking things, your cooler for your water. We had some shade or just coverage in general. Hopefully a canopy. I really think you should bring a canopy because like I said, in the rain, that can be real helpful, but whatever, some sort of shade. And then water, gotta have water. So that's gonna cover us up for our 5 big essentials for your first track day that aren't things that you would already like need and have to have, but the 5 things you should have on the side. Like I said, if you guys have anything else that you wanna comment, please throw that down in the comments below. If you have any questions for me about track days or motorcycle riding or anything like that, which bike you should buy, which bike you shouldn't buy, I won't give you that advice per se, but I will give you tons of other advice. Hit me up on Instagram or Facebook at JKMoto Entertainment. I answer any and all questions. I'm happy to have any conversations related to this sport because I love it so much. And Before we say goodbye, I do have to ask one more time. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel down below and throw a like on the video. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.